Hey everybody, it's winter sowing time. I know I've been talking a lot about this, and today's the day we get started. So I've got my seeds figured out. I've got labels. I've looked through all of them. I'm going to show you my labels because I got these. I scored these at Prairie Moon Nursery, and they're metal, and you can, with just a ballpoint pen, write inside that metal, and it presses down, and this will weather the weather. So versus Sharpies that disappear and then you don't know what the heck is growing in that jug. So you don't want that. And I've gone through all my seeds and I've figured out if any of them need anything special as far as prep. Winter sowing does cold stratification, cold moist stratification in one fell swoop. And some would argue even a little bit of scarification, meaning the shell of that seed that usually would be digested by an animal or weathered by nature in some way, winter seed sowing kind of fixes that. But I have found that some seeds do need that extra prep work, like boiling or scratching up that surface. Some even need inoculation, which is a fancy word for basically just making sure that there's a fungal bacteria mix in there to get the root system going. So you want to do all that before you get started. Secondly, you need to get all of your tools, which something to cut, like a box cutter. You could also use really sharp scissors. I have really great pointy scissors that you can stick in, and you're going to need those to cut your containers. Speaking of which, you need containers. So I scored a bunch yesterday at the Starbucks. If you call your local coffee shop, they're more than happy to give you their milk jugs. And then you want to clean them out with some diluted bleach and let them dry. Other containers that you can use, anything that is enclosed that you can cut, put drain holes in, and will allow light in. So believe it or not, even though this is opaque, light does come in here. And eventually you're going to open these up anyway to get more light in. But juice containers, I have a couple of recycled juice containers. Those work. And a lot of people use salad containers and rotisserie chicken containers and Tupperware containers. Some use big Tupperware totes. So do a little research online and see what can work for you. So you need that. You need some potable water in a spray bottle. You need just regular potting soil, nothing fancy. I do like to include a little light layer of seed starting mix, but I do not use this in the whole container. This dries out. So I just put a sprinkling on the top. Otherwise, regular potting soil. You need your seeds, and you need, well, I also need this to mix the soil with some water. You're gonna need some extra water, like in a bucket. And you need something to enclose. Once you cut these, you need some tape. And I found, honestly, I know it's ugly, but duct tape is the best for me. Some people use shipping tape. My shipping tape, after like a month of weather, it just comes apart. So now you also need something to poke holes. And a lot of people use different tools to poke the holes. I did a reel last year and I used nails and the tip heated in a candle, and that heats up that nail so that it can melt through to create a hole. What I found was my nails were too small, and though I did a really bang up job with germination last year, I still had some jugs that did not germinate. I noticed there was some mold and some mildew, so I think the drainage was an issue. So this year I've got a glue gun heating up, and a lot of people, at least I think it's heating up. Anyway, it's still trying to heat up. Maybe that electrical outlet's not working out here. But basically you heat up, you take the glue out, there's no glue. You just want the heated tip to create your holes, okay? You can also use a drill bit. But either way, you need something you can use an X-Acto knife even, you know, if you don't want to be neat, you just need to cut things in there. But you need decent drainage. I like to put 4 to 5 holes on the bottom, and this year I'm even going to put just a couple holes on like the lower side, because again, I had some mold mildew issues in mine. So that's sort of what you need to have ready to go, as well as your seeds. So let's get started. So as my glue gun gets heating up, this is the first thing you want to do is get your drain holes in, because once your drain holes are in, then you can cut. If you cut, then it's a little bit tougher to get the drain holes in. You can do it, but I don't know. I prefer to do the drain holes first. So let's get that going. Guess what, gang? My glue gun has gone kaput. I think it's about 20 years old, so maybe it was time. I don't know. But, so I can't show you that trick, but I'm sure you can imagine, you know, how to use the glue gun to make holes. I'm going to end up using an X-Acto knife. I could also use these pointy scissors, but the goal here is drain holes, right? So, let's make sure our X-Acto knife is... Wow, nothing's working for me today. Did you ever have one of those days? Oh my god. Oh my god. Anyway, let's see if this will work. If you have a better X-Acto knife. I think I got this also at the dollar store, so maybe that's something to do with it. But, drain hole. Like I said, you could always do this. In fact, you know what, guys? I think I might, because this gives me a nice big hole, right? This is going to be bigger than what I had last year when I had some mold problems. So that's about the size you want. And like I said, got a drill bit. That'll go fast too. And I really was hoping to use the glue gun. Oh, one more thing. If you use the glue gun, you're melting plastic, be sure to be outside. There's fumes that happen with that. And we want you all to be safe and happy and live a long life. So, so something like that. And then I'm going to put some extra ones on the side, like so. So now we got our drain holes. Okay, now we need to cut across so that we have a lid. So I'm just going to use my same scissors, but you can use one of these. I make a mess with this. This is a little cleaner for me. As you can see, I started about an inch past the handle, right? That's your hinge. Just go across. And then stop short. Like Frank Costanza, stop short. Did you catch that Seinfeld joke? Okay, so there you go, boom. Now we can start filling it with dirt. Once you have your jugs all ready to go, you gotta prep your soil. So like I said, just typical potting soil mix, nothing fancy. And there's a lot of debate on what kind. This is just good old-fashioned Miracle Grow Pro Mix. A lot of people swear by. I just didn't plan ahead. I did use Pro Mix for some of my other plants. They did really well. So what you want to do is put some water in, as if you're making, I don't know if you've ever, if you're a baker out there, like you're making cake balls. Do you ever make cake balls? But like, the soil's moist to the point where I mix it all up in, and you can like sort of like shape it into something. You don't want it soggy. You just want it moist. Moisture is key to germination. And make sure it's well mixed. Got some dry stuff at the bottom. I'm gonna add a little more. And when I say water is key to germination, you know, in my winter seed stowers group on Facebook, which I highly recommend, you guys, great group of really supportive people. They keep the trolls out. It's really, it's a happy place. But they remind people, even in the winter and in the spring, you got to make sure that these are getting water, okay? So just because you leave it out and you forget it for a few months, keep an eye on them. If they're getting dry in there, you got to water them. Okay, so you get it in this good consistency where it's starting to like take shape. Like I could make a cake ball if it were cake batter, okay? That's sort of my go-to, okay? Set that aside, and now you get your jugs. I'll show you, I'm reusing ones from last year too, because the whole idea here is to, you know, keep the plastic out of the landfills as long as possible. And I wasn't happy with my drain holes last year, so I'm going to go in and make them a little bigger. And these were cleaned with diluted bleach. So that should be better. And then I'm also going to add a couple drain holes on the side. So yeah, just keep in mind, you can reuse your jugs as long as you can. It's great. So I've got my jug. I'm going to fill it with my dirt. Next, I want to sprinkle some lighter seed starting. You can tell like this is much finer. And I just put it just a little bit on the top. Don't go crazy. This stuff dries out pretty fast. But I like to put it on the top just in case the seeds need some lighter material to just get going. But that's why you don't fill this with seed starting mix. Like the whole thing. It's going to dry out pretty easy. Okay? Now seeds. Alright, so we're going to start with Monarda. This is a really pretty one. It's Bradbury Monarda. Check that out. So, I already have my tag ready. These are very, very fine. They're very, very little. So, I'm going to put them in my hand first so I can see them. And for fine seeds like this is where that little bit of like sprinkling of seed starting mix for me I think is good because it's not heavy and these are so little. So then I just use my hand and my fingers to sort of sprinkle them away. There you go, and I try to be even. And that's all I do as far as like I don't want them any deeper. They need the sun to germinate. And then you take your spray bottle and you water them in. And guess what, guys? This is from the dollar store, so $1. Next, you put this back together again. And because it was from last year, it's seen better days. So kind of mash it back together and get your duct tape. Now, if you do research, there's lots of ways in which people seal these, lots of different tricks. For me, duct tape works fine. Some people like to seal with duct tape too because it keeps things from drying out. It sort of seals it. And then I'm gonna get my tag. So here's Bradbury Monarda, and I'm using my fancy tags from Prairie Moon Nursery. So this is not gonna wear away, and I'm just going to tag it onto my handle. They come with these great twist tie wires. There we are. Leave this open because snow and water are going to get in there. And I'm going to set it on the northeast side of the house through April. Okay? come April, I'm gonna move all my jugs to more of an east-south corner to get more sun. And then once I see germination happening, then you gotta keep an eye on things. You can either open, which is why you got the hinge, you can open them up and air out the seedlings, or the woman that came up with this also suggests being even lazier and just poking holes on the top to let some of the hot air out. If you don't let the air circulate once things start germinating in April, May, you're going to burn out your seedlings. So, but she suggests even poking holes on the top will let a lot of that hot air out. So that's it. Onward to the next one. You just keep continuing. That's winter sowing. It's pretty easy. I love it. I've done seed sowing inside and it was nothing but problems for me. I just don't have the right equipment, the right space. So this is perfect. You work with Mother Nature. Mother Nature knows what to do. The seeds know what to do. And in the next couple of months, I'll be actually doing more like winter spring seed sowing in the same way. I'm maybe putting in some vegetables in a couple jugs, and also like my zinnias, my cosmos, and some of the annuals that pollinators really like. So I usually wait till March to put those in. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you're inspired to try a couple jugs. What's kind of fun is you're gardening in the winter, which is really cool, right, fellow gardeners? So anyway, get out there, even if it's cold. I'm gonna go in and have some hot coffee because I'm cold. Bye.